Ichi, san, hike! Hugged my mom, shook hands with my dad. Hopped on the plane, no turning back. Now I'm in Japan with a little jet lag. I stepped it off, now I'm teaching class. How's this for a laugh? My students looked up, said, hey, you black? I said, you noticed that. Anyway, is there any questions y'all want to ask?
I used to think I had to be like everybody else before me, but now I see and I disagree. My life has endless possibilities. Hello, it's me again. Alright, in this section we're going to talk about the interview. Going to a place where there's an interview. Similar to phone interviews, but in this one you are in their office or in a place. Usually there's two types of interviews. There's group interviews and there's solo interviews. Sometimes you get both interviews. It is easier to get jobs and interviews in Japan, being that most companies are in Japan, or I say most. All companies are in Japan, but some companies have, offices or outsourcing companies that are out there to help you. Now, before we talk about the interviews, let me talk about what these companies actually are. Because you said, I'm teaching, I want to be a teacher. So the school is not hiring you. Japan is not hiring you. No one's hiring you. If you look at it, it's kind of like a temp service in the States. All right? So you go to somewhere and say, hey, I want to get a job. And then they send you to somewhere saying, hey, or actually, let me just take this back. All right? So it's kind of like a temp service or a job agency. So the agency has all these companies that they got positions for, that are hiring, and they're looking to fill those positions. So the agency they send out their job form, and you sign up, you send on the resume, you interview with the agency, and the agency asks you questions about the job. Now, if the agency thinks that you are a good enough fit for the job, then maybe the agency will introduce you to the job, and the job will have the final say, yeah, we like you, you're hired, or thank you for your time, blah, blah, blah. Or the agency has the go ahead. All right, you're hired and you will start the job. So that kind of process. So when you go to the companies for the interview, they're just kind of trying to find the best applicant for the schools that they have contracts with. Now, it's kind of complicated, but I'll draw it out for you. All right. So, now, first you have, right up here, this is Japan. I should use red. I don't know if you can see it, but, here's Japan, right? Now, they say, we want to have teaching in Japan. We want people to learn English. So we're going to make a program. They set aside some money. Now, they give money to, all right, these are cities, it'd be like cities. So New York will give money to Manhattan and Queens and so on. Pennsylvania will give money to Philadelphia. And it kind of goes down like that. And then these companies will give money to the agencies, okay? All right, and then finally in this long line of stuff, the agencies will give money to you. So here you are. And so on. So the money flows like this. Japan, the cities, the agencies, you. Now, what does that mean? Well, the typical, now it can be a little bit higher, it could be a little bit lower, but what they are saying you will probably make about 250,000 yen a month. Now, before you start rejoicing and thinking, oh, I'm going to get all rich, it's yen. And this translates into about all right, so this translates roughly about $3,000, roughly. But of course, you got to pay taxes, and there's all these other fees that just kind of come out of it. So probably by that time it comes to you, you're making about $2,000. Kind of. Numbers are fuzzy because everybody's situation is different. So, yeah. But out of this money, whatever it breaks down to, so when you get your paycheck, you still have to pay for your rent. You can't sleep on the floor. You could, but who wants to sleep on the floor? All right, you got your rent. Transportation. That's a car right there. All right, so transportation. Now, depending on where and how far you are, we'll just say roughly, let's say rent's roughly about $600, and transportation is about $80 a month. You get a bus pass or something. All right, your cell phone. Now, you can get a prepaid. You can get a rental one, contract, whatever. Or you can get like a can and get a piece of string and string it all over Japan and just be like, hello, and then, that's not going to work so well. I tried, but what kept happening was people were tripping over the wire. When they tripped over my wire, I couldn't hear it. Bad reception. So you're going to get a cell phone. Now, if you want the iPhone, because you just got to be up on the technology, expect to pay a little bit more. And cell phones are not really that cheap if you're a talker, because in the States, we have like free nights and weekends. In Japan, they have nights and weekends. They're not free. So, yeah, but we'll talk about cell phones. I'll go more into that in another one. But, cell phones. And then you got your food. And then you got your recreational stuff. I can't say the word, I'm sorry. But that's another point. Now, as a teacher, sometimes they'll ask you questions or you have to read something and be like a word you can't read. The best thing to do is just butcher it but keep going. Recreational. Because in that instance, you are the foreign guy and no one's going to challenge you. They'll just think that's how it's supposed to be said. Because if you start, you're going to look stupid and they're going to know. So that's just a little thing.